Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of The Third Act. We are talking about the importance of faith. Actor Atticus Shaffer joins me and he's going to discuss how important this topic is and how it's shaped his journey and everything that he's endeavored. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
My goodness. So we are going to be talking about the ever important topic of faith.
Yes.
I absolutely love your journey. I love what you do for the industry, and this topic is so important because it's the pillar of those of us who are believers, our relationship with Jesus.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to dive in. Faith just demands from us the desire, the control over the desire to know everything, right? Like we just want to know everything that's going to happen to us, but we have to just relinquish that desire and believe in the unseen. That's such a big topic, is the unseen. For faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain for what we do not see.
Yes.
Could you please describe a time for us when Jesus came through for you, when you had faith and it was rewarded? We're talking about unseen faith, when you had no idea what was going to happen.
You know, it's interesting because a question like that demands a real answer. It's not just, oh yeah, this happened and everything turned out. Their life is a story, right? Yeah. To give you background, and I'm sure that we've talked about this, is I do have a bone condition called osteogenesis imperfecta. When I was a baby, I was typed as type 4. And what that essentially means is it's called brittle bone disease, is the slang for it. So I am more fragile than an average kid. That pertains to my height as well. And so my childhood was fraught with a lot of pain, a lot of surgeries, a lot of corrective measures that need to go into everything. Yeah. And one of the things that happened to me and throughout my entire life was I would have to get rodding surgeries in my legs. So essentially there's metal in all of my legs, and it goes by the joints. That's how they put the rods in. It goes to the joints. And so it's one of those things where it helps you because it's like a reinforcement, right? You reinforce from within your bone and it helps things to not be displaced and all that other horrendous stuff that can happen in an injury. And so one of the things that happened when I was younger, this was like 8, 9, 10, going into 11, 9, 10, 11. What they don't tell you is that, as things grow, certain things can happen. Because as you grow, there's a metal rod that's fixed in length, and then your leg is growing longer than that.
Is that painful?
That itself is not painful, but what happened next was. What ended up happening is the way that the rod was in my leg, it actually came out of the bone. And so my right tibia was bent back at a 45-degree angle. And you're essentially walking with a piece of metal sticking out of your leg. And that was something that was completely unexpected. No one ever gave my mom or my dad any warning to that whatsoever. And so that was something that needed to be corrected. Now, the kicker to that was that my doctor, who had been my orthopedic surgeon, retired. And so now we're needing to find a new doctor at that hospital and get that corrected because my leg is literally bent and I can't walk.
Sure.
It's excruciating. And it's one of those things where for 3 years during the Christmas hiatus of the show, I would have to go in, get put under, and have it be corrected. Now, it took 3 years because 2 of the surgeries went wrong. The first one, it appeared to be corrected and it went right back to where it was. The second time, instead of it being bent back like this, my leg came out bent this way. And so it was one of those things where you are enduring pain and recovery for months.
Sure.
And you're disappointed every time. Until finally, there was the third year, the doctor realized that he needed to come back to help not only me, but several other patients that were in the hospital that needed corrective surgery done. And so he came back, and the plan was, yet again, Christmas hiatus, we're going to do the surgery. And when we did, the night before the surgery, my mom anointed me with oil, and she prayed over me. And I went under, and it felt different this time. And I remember the one, it's sad, but again, this is the reality of it. What ended up happening is I went into the operating room, and before I got knocked out, I told the people that were going to work on me, I said, please let me come out with my legs straight because that's going to be my Christmas present to my mom.
Sure.
Right. And they did. And as you were saying, there's that moment of faith where you just have that moment of a reward. And the reward for me was taking off the bandage after the surgery and seeing my leg finally straight. And on top of that, the relief that not only I felt, but that that my mom felt. Because when you're a parent, you want to take on your child's pain. You don't want your child to go through the pain, you would rather go through it.
Right.
And especially with something like that, which is a legitimate deformity that got corrected.
So to your point, that's how our Father in heaven is. He
Yes.
wants to watch over us and cares about us and takes care of us. And I think that for you, it must have been really hard to have, you were probably thinking, why me, right?
Right,
But your
absolutely.
story
Yeah.
is changing lives. And it's
Absolutely.
also, he's given you this platform of trusting him, of having faith,
Right.
so that you can be that for someone else.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
in particular with the entertainment industry, obviously we know it's such a dark industry. It
Absolutely.
demands so much out of you, and
Absolutely.
you have to compromise a lot of things. Can you describe a time when your faith was tested in your journey as an actor and how you overcame that?
Oh my goodness. I mean, it's one of those things where, like you said, it is a journey. And at least as far as an actor goes, it's really how do you reach out to people, and for me, sometimes it's not a cognitive, let me minister to this person. Sometimes a lot of times really, it's just setting an example. I am who I am, I know who I am. I know the decisions I've made, and one of those decisions is my faith in God, through Jesus. And one of the things is you meet a lot of different people
Sure.
in the industry,
Sure.
right? You can meet people that are just militantly atheist and they don't want anything to do with that. They don't even want to hear you talk about it. And then conversely, you meet people that they might disagree with your opinion, but they're still open to hearing it.
Sure.
Then you meet people that are like you, and then you end up kind of gathering together and you support each other and whatever. And that's what happened on set of The Middle, is when I got baptized and I started being more vocal about my faith,
Yeah.
all the other Christians kind of rallied around me, and we ended up supporting each other, praying for each other, etc. But one of the stories that I like to tell, and unfortunately, again, it's surrounded around an injury, but this is how the Lord will take things that are bad and end up using them for good.
Absolutely.
It doesn't take something big. Sometimes it's just a little moment. And a lot of people, unfortunately, just don't even know what the Bible really says. They have an idea, and that's what they base their opinion on it on. And a lot of times it is incorrect. A lot of times, at least from what I've heard from people that are not believers like we are, is they use the story of Job as a reason why they don't believe. And might not be a reason, but it might be that they just don't understand, which is understandable.
And if you understand it, it's actually
Right.
one of the most prominent,
Absolutely.
important journeys of our
Absolutely.
faith and of trusting.
Absolutely. And so this was an ironic thing. There was something that happened a couple years back. I fell at my brother's house, had a horrendous accident, broke both my legs, and cracked my shoulder blade.
Atticus.
I know. And that's what this condition does, is you take a fall, it's like you got hit
Yeah.
by a car if you fall the wrong way. And what ended up happening is, I had to go through that. And then as I was going through that, I was getting better. And then something ended up happening with my hip where we still don't know what it was, but muscularly my hip was flaring up and it was getting aggravated
Sure.
with some sort of itis in such a way where I couldn't walk, and that was making it difficult as well. And so what ended up happening is I would have to be rolled in to table reads by, again, one of my buddies on set, who would, so essentially table reads, I'd go to them early for the next week's episode.
Yeah.
So as I did, one of the directors, she's a Buddhist, and she was talking with me, and she always feels bad when I'm going through stuff and whatever. And it was so funny because it's one of those things where God will use you to say something and you didn't even know that you remembered it. And we had just gone through studying the book of Job at the church I was going to at the time. And when I was brought in, it was just myself and the director, and my mom was kind of doing her thing with a couple of the guest cast talking. And the director, she turned to me and she said, she was quoting, and I couldn't tell you where it was in the Bible because it wasn't accurate, but it was along the lines of, "Why, oh why, Lord," said Job. And the point was, why am I going through this type of thing?
Yeah.
Without missing a beat, and I didn't even know I was saying it until I was saying it, I go, Job chapter 42. At first I knew you, Lord, but now I see you. And as soon as I said it, I go, oh, that was you were talking to me
Spirit,
too. But then it was also, and then the look on her face was someone who was actually going, oh, I didn't know that was the end of the book.
Sure. Oh, that's so incredible.
Yes.
I mean, and you are the prime example, and Patricia Heaton as well is another example of someone in the industry with faith. And it's just sometimes, yeah, like you said, it's living by example.
Absolutely.
And being able to capitalize on those moments.
Absolutely.
And just the Lord is with us through all of it. So
Absolutely.
what a beautiful story that He was able to speak
Absolutely.
through you,
Yes.
which is what He calls us to do.
Yes.
Could you give us some insight on who's been influential in your faith primarily throughout your life?
You know, it's I remember hearing this book about like all the different love languages and whatnot. Strength is my love language, and I haven't read the book. I'm just deeming
It's
it as
so
that.
good. Yeah,
you
it's
know?
so good.
I'm just deeming it as that. My mom has been a very influential person in my life because she is a person that from the beginning of her life has endured suffering in every way, emotionally, physically, in her faith, everything. And so she has set an example for me that is a person who keeps getting back up, who keeps pushing forward. And whether it's for herself or not, it'll be for me, it'll be for my brother, it'll be for whoever. And she sacrifices.
Yeah.
She has that agape love of I'm going to die for you. That's how
I
far
love
she
that
would
you
take
use
it.
that agape love.
Right?
It's so great.
But
yeah.
it is. That's the truth of
Yeah.
it, right?
Unconditional.
Absolutely. And that's what she has exercised and been an example of for me in my life. And when I go through everything, she is the one that has been around me 24/7. Dad goes off to work. He does his thing. Other people, they come and go, and a lot of them, quite frankly, don't even understand what I have gone through in my life and where I am now. But she does.
Isn't it a beautiful thing how cyclical it is, though? Because of your
Yes.
mom's suffering and because of Jesus seeing her through,
Yes.
she's now seeing you through,
Yes.
and now you will be seeing someone else through. And it's just,
Right.
it's one of those things that without suffering, without trials and tribulations, it sounds so cliche, but it truly helps us depend on the Lord, on His
it
goodness,
does.
on His mercies, and what He's capable of.
And as you said, it is a dependence on Him.
Yeah.
Because faith, a very important message that I feel that needs to be shared is that faith is every individual's own unique choice and decision.
So good.
I can't make someone believe.
So good.
I can just say, this is what's happened in my life, this is what I
Right.
believe. But it ultimately is up to them because God is not going to judge them on who was around you and then they helped you come to me. It's what did you do?
Sure.
What did you feel? And it will be individual to the person. But yeah, that is. It's amazing how, like you said, there is always a cycle. There is something where,
Right.
you know, we're able to grow. And something that I heard from one of the pastors recently that I've spoken with at a church that we go to, is he looked at my mom because my mom was sharing her testimony with him, and he was saying how, you know, Debbie, that's my mom's name, you are
Mama Debbie.
Mama Debbie, yes. You are closer to being like the Lord and following that example than we are because of the suffering.
Yeah.
Because Jesus went through excruciating suffering when He died for us, when He was tormented and He died for us. You know, she is following along a path. Whether or not she would choose that path, she is still being placed and led on a path where she is following in the footsteps of the Lord more closely than others that might not have experienced that suffering.
And I'm so glad you said that because my next question is about being spiritually disciplined.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't realize the importance of that we need to be
Yes.
disciplined to know that everything that we're put through is for something better, it's for
Right.
something greater, and it's also to move us into our best. And a lot
Yes.
of people don't realize that. So
Yes.
being spiritually disciplined is all about building those faith muscles.
Right.
So can you speak to how would you encourage and inspire people to gain that spiritual discipline, if you will, to be able to really lean in and trust God's plan?
Well, you know, dependent on when you become a Christian, it can be very hard to break certain other habits. And that doesn't necessarily mean an addiction. That could just mean other habits, right?
Yes.
How you live, how you think, how you speak, whatever it may be. Now, the thing is I do relate it very often to, it's like exercise and eating right. It's one of those things where you grow the more you do. Because it's not a matter of here's this big thing and now I'm changed forever. Sometimes that is that way. But a lot of times it's where when we do compromise or something of that nature, it's a lot of little things that built up and then led to that compromise.
Sure.
So growing in spiritual discipline is the same way. You need to make those little choices and value those little choices, not as, oh, this is insignificant.
Right.
No, this is significant. It's significant to who you are.
Right.
And you need to grow in that. But a scripture that was kind of revealed to me, and I think this is the amazing thing about when you read the Word of God, is you will always find something new that is applicable applicable to a circumstance that you're in. So let's say I read through Hebrews once and I missed certain things because I wasn't in a situation that it applied.
Right.
But then now I've read it through again, and then I do see those things. One of those is Hebrews 12:11. I'm going to paraphrase it, hopefully not terribly.
I love it. The faith chapter, if you will. I love it.
Yes, but it is. It's Hebrews 12:11, which says along the lines of, at the present moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it.
The eternal reward, which is what we talked about earlier. It's so important to know that the choices we make in the world may not be popular, but we also are not asked to be of the world. We're asked to be the vessel and followers of Christ.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes that doesn't mean going out and being very vocal about it and hellfire and brimstone. A lot of times that doesn't work. A lot of times it is those quiet moments of just kindness and being who you are, being the example. And other people see that and go, wow, that catches my attention. That catches my heart.
I love that you said that, because it is so much about stillness and quietness. Like, think about Jesus. So many times he could have just been so angry or helped himself out, and he was just still, and he was silent, and he was calm. So good.
Well, it goes back to the be still and know that I am God. I've had to experience that with all the stuff that I've been through. I've had a lot of times where I've been forced to be still.
Psalm 46:10. It's a goldie.
Yes, it is.
Well, I have to ask you before we go, this show is all about the third act. It's all about the point of no return. It's about the point in a person's life that causes you to lean in. It demands you to lean in to be able to gain that victory over that goal. And it's really important to me, and I'm sure the audience, to know what has been your defining third act in your life, a moment where you stepped into it and there was no point of return and you were going to follow the Lord in faith.
You know, I'm going to give my opinion on this. You know, it's one of those things where I think that for non-believers as well as believers, it is a disservice to them to think that there has to be an aha moment, quote unquote. Because I could tell you 15 different aha moments in my life. With my mom, it's lifelong. And there are many other people that go through that. There are people that go through a life of suffering. And it's sad, but it's the reality that there are some people that as soon as they get knocked down one time, they quit life, they quit faith.
Of course.
Or for others, it might be after 100 knockdowns. But I believe that the defining moment becomes so much more special when it becomes a never-ending lifetime of moments of choosing to keep getting back up when you've been knocked down.
Resilience. So it sounds like yours has been just moments of resilience.
Absolutely. And endurance and perseverance, because that's what life is it is a perseverance fight. But I just heard this recently, and it really stood out to myself, to my mom. It is not always about comfort, but it is always about character. God builds character.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Yes.
What a beautiful way to end that. I couldn't have said it any better.
Thank you.
And living with contentment. Isn't that we're just called to live each moment with contentment?
Absolutely.
So good, Atticus. Well, I want to play a fun game with you so that everyone can learn a little bit more about Atticus.
Okay.
It's called Rapid Fire 15.
Okay.
Fun you don't want to miss with Atticus. All right, here we go. Are you ready? Angels in the outfield or Field of Dreams?
I'll pick Angels in the outfield. That sounds cool.
It's so good.
Okay,
it's
that
so
sounds
good.
cool.
Super Bowl or Olympics?
Olympics.
Beautiful. Netflix or YouTube?
Oh, YouTube.
Lucky Penny or Rabbit's Foot?
I mean, I picked up many Lucky Pennies.
Perfect.
Sure, okay,
I'll tell you my penny story later.
Okay,
it'll make more
cool.
sense. Taco Tuesday or Delivery Pizza Friday?
Both.
Gotta pick one or the other.
Dang it. Taco Tuesday.
Perfect. Friends or The Office?
The Office.
Tom Hanks or Tom Brady?
Oh!
So you are a little bit of a sports person.
Sure.
Sporting events or concerts?
Concerts.
Podcast or radio?
Radio.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Ooh. New Testament or Old Testament?
Oh, come on. Come on.
I know.
I'll say New Testament.
All right. French fries or French toast?
French fries.
Ooh. Instagram or Twitter?
Oh, I just got Instagram. So I'll say Instagram because it's new.
All right. Everyone follow him on Instagram. Easter or Christmas?
Christmas.
There it is. There's your Rapid Fire 15 with Atticus. So good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, absolutely.
What
Thank
a
you for
beautiful
having
thing.
me. Thank you.
My goodness. Thank you everyone for joining us for the importance of faith with Atticus Shaffer. What a beautiful story you've told us.
Thank you.
I'm so excited.
With over 10,000 titles, it would be impossible for us to show you everything on pureflix.com. But let's give it a shot.